Hi everyone. So today we'll go through the MSBI session. So before I start the session, let me introduce myself. So I'm Vikrant, and I'm having around 13 years of experience into IT and into MSBI, business intelligence, data warehousing, and different technologies like .NET, Azure, and AWS. So basically, in my experience or throughout my experience, I have worked on different domains like retail, banking, financial services, HR, and other domains. So in my past experience, what I have learned, so my intention is to transfer my knowledge to the fellow students. So that is about me. So and also I am having experience of 13 years into MSBI teaching. So let's go into the MSBI part or BI part. So yeah, so as part of the agenda, so we'll be covering what we'll be learning from MSBI. But before that, we'll understand what is BI is, and then what is Microsoft Business Intelligence is. And I'll be taking you about the course and what all prerequisite require for the MSBI. So and we'll go for the Q&A if you have any. So before we start, what is BI? So questions comes like who should be attending this course, or what is your role like required or as a prerequisite to learn this course. So any IT professional can do, or any technical consultant, or who is having a domain experience, or like you want to learn you are passionate about learning MSBI, or any fresher or graduate aspiring to join IT, they can also pursue this course so that later on they can search for a job on that. And as I said, fresher, so obviously you'll be having a degree, graduate or postgraduate. Um, yeah, so and also like if somebody is working on the support and they want to move to the development, MSBI development, and also they want to move to MSBI support, they can learn MSBI so that they can pursue a career into the support. Yeah, so that is about like who should be taking the course. Then let's go into the MSBI. So what is MSBI? So MSBI stands for Microsoft Business Intelligence. But before we learn MSBI, so MSBI is part of Microsoft. So this is a tool part of Microsoft. But let's understand what is BI is. So BI, nothing but business intelligence, is a technology driven process for analyzing the data and making it presentable to the end users. Like who are the end users? Maybe your executives, managers, and other corporate end users. So maybe the stakeholders from your company, they want to see the data and report, and based on that they can take any decision. So for example, if we are talking about a retail organization, so if you're talking about Walmart or any other retail brand, so they have different stores in different locations, they have different customers coming into their stores and they are selling the product, but end of the day the business executives or stakeholders is interested about their sales. So how are the sales going on, how is the sales going on in the organization, right? So for that they need to analyze the data from different stores. So different stores may be located in different location, different geographical location, and from there they'll be getting data, and they'll be they need a report, and through that, let's say they want to know what is the year and year sales, or what is the month and month sales from different stores. So for that we need to collect the data from different stores, then we need to process the data into a centralized database, and from there a report needs to be generated, and that can be presented to the end user or business stakeholders, and from there they can take any decision. So that is about BI. Okay, and the as I said, so a business user can see the report and they can make better decisions based on that. So let's say some of the product is not having a proper sales, and for that they can take decision, like they can provide some promotion to the customers, or they can do some let's say advertisement, or they can take some decision on that to improve the sales of that product. Or some of the brands may be not performing well, and for that they need to take some decision accordingly. So this is about the business. So business intelligence system provide the historical data, current data, so that you can compare the data, what was there in the past and what is there in present, and also you can have the predictive view of the business. So for example, the business is going to invest something in a new location, so they can take the historical data or current data of the current business or in different location, and based on that they can take a decision on having a new store, or if they want to invest something new. So that is about that is about BI. So yeah, so technically what we do when we say BI, technically what we do. So technically we need to do a data modeling. So data modeling is all about, you need to build the model or structure of the database or data warehouse. Okay, so as I said, one example, like you'll be getting different data and processing it and creating a report for the end user, right? So where you'll be storing it, so you'll be storing it somewhere, right? So you'll be storing in a database. So so that is nothing but a database or data warehouse. So for that you need to create a model or structure. Then so after creating the model, what you'll be doing, so you need to collect the data, you need to store the data into the structure or database or data warehouse you have created. So for that reason we need to build a system which will be extracting the data, transforming the data, and loading the data. So when I say extract, transform, and load, so for example, you are getting data from different store, sales data from the different store from another SQL database, or you are getting some data extracted into Excel or flat file from different ERP system, and you need to load the data. And so you need to load the data into your destination data warehouse. So for that reason we need to extract the data from the specific source. That source may be a SQL database, or that source may be a file. Then you can transform the data. So when I say transform the data, so you can clean the data, or you can apply some logic. Let's say you are getting data in the form of string, so you can you may need to convert it to integer or any other data type. Okay, so that can be done using transformation. And load, so you are going to load the data. After transformation you are going to load the data into the destination data warehouse. So that is about the transformation. Then cleaning, some like somehow it is part of the transformation process. So maybe you will be eliminating the junk data, you will be removing duplicates, or if there is any let's say you are getting data from some system and it is adding some space or some extra characters, so you can remove that space. That is all about the data cleaning. Then data presentation. So when we are done with a creation of the database, then loading the data using ETL, and through that process we are cleaning the data and we finalize the data. So now our database is ready with the data. So what is next? So if we go back to the previous slide about what is BI, so BI is all about collecting the data and making it in an actionable way, so that it can be used by the business user for decision making. So how the business user will be using it? So business user can only use when you are creating something presentable to them. So then the data presentation comes into the picture. So here we can create the dashboard or reports. and through so that dashboard and reports can be shared with the business stakeholders, and they can use it for their decision making. So one more thing is there as part of the BI is data analysis. So as part of data analysis, you can build the cubes, you can have the data mining, data statistics. So when I say data analysis, so you can build a cube or multidimensional databases, so which will be pre-aggregated, and if you have a huge data set that can be accessed in a very fraction of time, or it can be accessed very fast. Okay, so that is all about the BI. For BI, what technology you used or what method you used to get the data, process it, and present it to the user. Okay, so then we have learned about BI. So now, what is MSBI? So MSBI, as I said, it stands for Microsoft Business Intelligence. Okay, so this is one flavor of the BI. So if you need to do all those what we discussed in the last slide, like you need to get the data, load the data, clean the data, and report it. So for that you need a tool, right? So for that reason, we have a tool from Microsoft that is called Microsoft BI. Okay, and it is a very powerful suite or very powerful tool as part of the SQL Server family, and using which we can create different solutions which can process the data, cleanse the data, and create reports or dashboards which can be presented to the business user. Okay, so yeah, so that business user can take decision based on that. Let's say you are using the MSBI tool and in your organization, and using that you are loading the data, and you are creating presentation using some tool, right? So what are tools involved in that? That is the question now. So as part of MSBI suite or as part of MSBI tools, we have three categories. One is SSIS, which is abbreviated form, but this is SQL Server Integration Services. Then SSAS, SQL Server Analytical Services, and SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services. So these are the three tools available. So in the after a few minutes, I'll show you what is the tool and how you'll be creating this. But let's see what what are what are all objectives, or why we use these three tools. Okay, so let's see the details. So SSIS, which is SQL Server Integration Services, is used for ETL purpose. So when I say ETL purpose, as we discussed earlier, so SSIS is having the different tools which will be helping us to create a package to get data from different sources. So source type may be Excel or flat file or any other databases or SQL database or Oracle databases. Then you can load it. So this is the tool all about ETL. So which is SSIS. SSRS is nothing but SQL Server Reporting Services or SQL Server Reporting Services, which is used for reports, dashboard, and analytics. Then SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services, which will be used for creating cube and data mining purpose. Then, so we know now about what are all tools available, but if you summarize, uh, like what is MSBI and technically what you do as part of MSBI. So now we learned what is MSBI, what is BI, and what are all different tools available as part of MSBI. So let's understand the entire process end to end. So I think a visual will help you better understand the concept. So I put one visual aspect of it. So let's go through it. Okay, so if you see this part, so first part represent different sources. So as I said, sources can be a flat file or text file or Excel file or another SQL Server database. or you can have a Oracle database. So source can be anything. Okay, so maybe you are getting different sources of data. Let's say you are talking about a retail project. So what are all things involved in a retail project? So if you are working on a retail project, so data may be like you need to have the data of different transactions by the customer. You need to have the customer information where you will be having the customer details, so whether the customers are loyalty customer or registered customer or non-registered customers. Then in the store, you like you are selling different products, so you can have a product data. So product information, so you have different employees or salespersons, so you can have salesperson information or employee information. So likewise you can have so many information, right? So you are getting the data from so many information. So as we discussed, so you are collecting these different sources of data from different system, let's say, or different in different formats. So let's say you are getting data in text file, Excel, or another SQL database. So you need to load that somewhere. So that is the database. So that is part of that comes as part of the data model. Okay, so here as we see, the picture represents two things. One is staging area, and another, so gray area is the staging area, and the blue one, blue db, I'll say, is the destination db or destination database. Okay, so here, if I tell you insert, so we are getting different data from different sources. Then we are putting it into the staging area, so or staging database or staging tables, and from there we are having our business logic to clean the data. Then like all the processed or finalized data will be put under the final database. So there are different ways we'll be discussing in detail in our later session. But so this is the flow. So you are getting data from the different sources, that is extracting it. So as part of ETL, E comes into picture in that. So you are extracting different type of data. Then you are doing the transformation. Let's say you are loading the data as it is in the staging database. Then you are making some cleansing in the staging. Then you are loading the data into the destination DB. So here the solely the SSIS comes into the picture. So as you see, this area or whatever activity we are doing as part of ETL, so we are using SSIS for that. Okay, so now we have the SQL DB and we have the data loaded. What do you do after that? So after that, we can have a dashboard or we can have different reports. Okay, so which will be used by the business users or business stakeholders. So we can directly access the data from the database through the reports. So here you can create a store procedure, you can create a query to represent the data, and also you can build cube out of this final data which you are having in the destination database or data warehouse. So let's call it as data warehouse. So you have the history of the data and all the data related to the organization is available in this database, and that can be used to create a cube. So here SSAS comes into the picture. So you can use SSAS, so per cube. Then whatever presentation you are doing, so if you see this orange one, I have like put one dashboard as a presentation. So here you are generating the dashboard, or you are generating a report. So here SSRS comes into the picture. But when you are creating the report, either you can use the database data from the data warehouse using TSQL query, where you are using the store procedure and query, inline query, or you can use the queues, and for that you need to create a DAX query to access the data through the queues. So these are different aspect or end-to-end flow of your MSBI process, I'll say. So this is the MSBI architecture, I'll say, and this is the technical architecture or technical workflow of the MSBI. So you are using SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. Okay. So this is about the detail. So we can take questions, but before that, let me show you what is the prerequisite required as part of MSBI. So you need to install some tools. So for that, I'll be sharing the link for this. But let's see. So quickly, let's see this link from. Okay. So yeah. So you you can download any version of the tool, but first thing what you need is you need the SQL Server developer tools. Okay, so which is the database. Okay, so database server which you need to install, and it is available free of cost in the Microsoft website. So you can install 2017 or the latest one 2019. Okay, but one thing you need to remember is you need to install the developer edition, which is free of cost. Okay, so this is to hold your database, or this is to create your database. Then one more thing is SQL Server Management Studio, which needs to be installed. Okay, so Management Studio, let me open it from Google. So you need to download SSMS. So you need to download the SSMS. This is the client which needs to be installed to access your SQL Server, which you install from the other link I said. Then these are the two things related to the database. So you have installed your database, you have the tool. So after installing it, you can access the database through the SSMS. Okay. Then and you can create your databases inside this, or you can add some sample databases from Microsoft which is readily available for learning purpose. Then one more thing we need to install is SSDT. This is nothing but SQL Server Data Tool, and this is all about the MSBI. So this is the MSBI tool. So if you search for it, so yeah, so this is the link. So either you can download the Visual Studio. So there you can select the data storage and processing, and here the SSDT or SQL Server Data Tool is part of it. Or you can just download the SSDT or SQL Server Data Tool standalone installer, and it will look like this. So you need to install these three: SQL Server Analysis Services, SQL Server Reporting Services, and SQL Server Integration Services. Before that, you would have installed the SQL Server database. Okay, so this is about the tool which I'll be showing you in few minutes to this is the tool for MSBI. Sorry. So then after that, you can have some sample databases. So this is the link for that. So after you install the database, SQL Server database, for learning purpose, Microsoft provides some database which is readily available. So that is called AdventureWorks database. So you can download any version of it. So it is having different versions from 2008 to 2019. So it is having data for this period. So there are three categories actually. So we can use the OLTP and data warehouse. So you can get the AdventureWorks 2017 and AdventureWorks DW 2017. So these are the backup. You need to take it and restore it. Okay, so you can download and restore it. I'll show you how to do that in later session when we work together. Um, but these are the sample database which we can use for creating a report, or we can use this for our learning purpose. Then yeah, so these are the prerequisites you need to install at the tool. So now we saw the different softwares needed, but let's say I have installed the AdventureWorks 2017. So what is AdventureWorks 2017? It is all about a database uh, having different tables, okay, and part of a retail domain. Okay, so you can go through this database, and we can discuss about it in detail. So this will be give you an experience about a retail project. That's why I'm emphasizing here. And in our training also, mostly we'll be using this database, though we'll be creating some new databases in terms of practice or learning how to create it database and how to use that for our SSIS and reporting purpose. Okay, so then once you have installed, as I am opening the SSMS for accessing the database, similarly I need to open the SSDT or SQL Server Data Tool. Okay, so I already opened it. You need to click on and you need to open it, and let's say this is open for me. Okay, so here you can go to the file, new project, and once you go here you can see three different categories. Okay, so there are so many, but we are interested in three different categories. Okay, so one is reporting services, where you can create different reports. Another one is analysis services. Here you can create different cubes or multidimensional cube or tabular cube, so you can create your project for that. And then you have the business intelligence. Under that you have integration services. This is all about SSIS. So integration services is SSIS. You can create your packages, DTSS packages. Reporting services all about creating your SSRS reports. Then analysis services is all about creating the cubes. So let's see one example today. Let's start with the reporting service. For that, there are two options. So once you click on the category of reporting services, there are two options: report server project wizard or report server project. So what are all these? Okay, so one option is like you can create your project using a wizard. So there will be a wizard, and there you can provide the details and you can create your report, or you can create the report using the SQL Server project from the scratch. So you need to build everything from the scratch. Okay, so yeah, as a developer I would like to do or create a report using this option. So let's create this one. Let me select this as report server project, and here I can give a location. So yeah, so let me make it default. Then let me give a name. So let's say my report project. Okay, so I'm creating, click OK, and it is loading the different objects. It's preparing the solution. Let's wait for a minute. So my report project is created now. So after creating the report project, so I've given the name as my first report project. So after creating the report project, so it will be showing three different folders. So what are three different folders? So first and foremost, we'll talk about this report. So here you will be having all the reports you'll be creating for your project. Then for that you need a data source. Data source is nothing but you need to have a connection to a database. So that is called data source. So you need to have a connection. So you need to create a connection or you need to create a data source to that database. So for example, I want to get data from AdventureWorks database, which I said it is a retail database. Okay, so here I'll be getting, let's say I'll be getting some order data, so order information. So I have created a query for it. So let's say I'll be taking this query. So I'll be using this query. Okay, so here I'll be taking a query which will be giving me the different order date, order number, and product category and subcategory product and what quantity and amount. Okay, so if I just explain you what data it is if you consider any online order. Okay, so there will be a date when you are ordering, when you are placing the order. So there will be an order date, and there will be an order number to it, and you would have created a product. So there will be a product name, and you have order as part of that order ID. There are some product you have order, and there is some quantity against it. So if we talk about this one, about the first row, so this is the order number, and we have like somebody would have bought or sold the sports 100 helmet blue. So this is the product name, and bought 4 quantity of that product, and and this is the amount of that total amount, 80.74 let's say. So this is the sales order. Okay, so we are getting it for different product category and different subcategory, so that we can create a report out of it. So this is my query, and I'm joining different tables like salesperson, sales order header, sales order details, and I'm joining with the product to get the product information. Then that product belong to different category or subcategory, so I have used join to like join between different tables to get the data, get the respective data. Okay, so let me present it in a so when I say data warehouse, we said that okay, so this is all about collecting the data, storing the data. So you have stored the data and you can query it to get the output, right? But is it a presentable format? So it's not, right? So only developer can query it and get the data. Okay, but how can you make it presentable? So you can make it presentable through a SSRS report. Okay, so for that we will be using SSRS report. So let me create a report for that. uh, but before that, let me create a data source, so which will be using to connect to the database. So this query which I am running to get the order information is from the AdventureWorks database. Okay, so let me just create a data source for that. So let's say for that you need to right click on the data source, then add new data source. And when you add it, so in the general you need to give a name. So let's give a standard name, let's say ds, which stands for data source, uh, AdventureWorks. So just give a remember to give a meaningful name, so that you'll understand, okay, this data source is like meant for this database, or this data source is the connection to this database. So let's me put it as adventure works. Okay, so this is the data source name. But if you ask me, this technically mandatory to give this name because I am connecting to the AdventureWorks database? No. So you can give any name, but as per the standard, we should use a correct, you should use a standard name which will be meaningful. So I have given the DS AdventureWorks. So DS stand for data source, and AdventureWorks is the name of your data source. So DS AdventureWorks is the name of your data source. So now I'll be selecting a type. So here I need to choose Microsoft SQL Server. Then connection string, you can build it. So just click on build, and here you need to provide the server name. So server name is nothing but your SQL Server name. Okay, because I have chosen the database type as SQL Server. So let me take the server name. This is the server name, and let me select the database test connection. So yeah, so I have given the server name, then I am giving the database name, and I tested the connection, whether this connection is establishing. So it tested successfully. Okay, so then click OK. So it created a connection string for it with the data source. Data source is nothing but the server name, and initial catalog is nothing but your database which you selected. Then under the credential, you can select the Windows authentication, or if you have a username and password to connect to your SQL Server, you can use that using the username and password option. But my database is like configured as a Windows authentication, so I have chosen this one. Let me click OK. After you click OK, there will be a object created RDS. So RDS stands for report data source. Okay, so this data source is created. So next is I'll be creating a report. So for that, I need to right click on the report, and here if you add new report, it will be opening the wizard, but I'll show you today how to create the report from the scratch. So I'll be choosing other option. So right click, add, then new item. Here you can choose the report, and here you can give the name. So let's say my first report. Okay, and it will be having a extension RDL. So RDL stands for report definition language. So this is the extension for the SSRS report. So click OK, click add, and it will add a report. So after this, you'll be seeing the .rtl report under the folder reports. So after you add it, okay, so it will open the report design, okay, and in design section you can see different sections, right? So here you are seeing on the top you are seeing a part with a kind of a table, and this is the part where it will be showing the parameters. So if you want to use a parameter to filter the data, you can use this section here. Then this is the report body. So here you can put all the objects, whatever object you want to put in your report. Okay, so let's say you want to add a table or matrix or graph, so you can add it here. Then we have, so from where we'll be adding it, so we have a toolbox. So in the toolbox you have different report items. So report items may be table, matrix, or list, or any image. So there are different toolbox. So we'll go by one by one in our following session, but this is all about different uh, tool available under the toolbar. Okay, so different option available to create different kind of reports. Then one more important thing is, so when you are creating a report, you are going to present the data, right? So for that, what you do? So normally in the SQL Server, you are writing a query and running it and getting some output. But as I said, this is not the presentable way. So we need to convert this query output to a presentable way. That is nothing but creating a report. So for that, we need the query. So let's say I'll be taking this query, which will be giving me the date, order, category, subcategory, product, and quantity and amount. So let me take it. But in terms of report, you need to create a data set. Okay, so data set can be a shared data set, or it can be an embedded data set. Okay, so I'll just show you today the embedded one, which will be meant for this report. So but difference between shared and embedded is, if you are having an embedded data set, this will be only used by the respective report. But if you are having a shared data set, it can be shared among the different different reports, sorry. So you need to create a data set. Before we create a data set, let's understand different folders available here. So we have a built-in field folder. So here it will be having different built-in or system provided fields. So if you take example, so there is a execution time, so it will show how much time it took for your report to be generated. Then language, or if you want to add a page number, or if you want to know what is the total number of pages, or if you want to know who is the user accessing the report. So these are the built-in, or this is system generated fields. You don't need to create yourself. Okay, so this comes under the built-in. Then parameters is all about, if you want to create a parameter to filter the data which will be appearing in this section of the design, then you can add some image. So image can be on the like report header or report footer. Then data source. So here you need to create a data source to connect to the DB. So either data source will be the reference to the said data source, or you can create an embedded data source. So when I say embedded and shared data source can be shared among all the reports. Let's say in your project you have 10 different reports. So this shared data source can be connected through that. Okay, so let me create a data source. So in this case, as we have already created the shared data source, what I'll do is I'll be creating a reference to it. So let me give a name, DS. Let me make a abbreviated name, AD Adventure Works. Okay, so here instead of creating, so if you create an embedded connection, you need to go through whatever you have done in the shared data source. But let me go to reference. So here I'll be just referring to the shared data source which I created, and this is mandatory whether you have a shared data source or not. So here I'll be choosing, in the drop down I'll be choosing the shared data source. Click OK, and I have created a reference to the shared data source which I created. And what it does, it connects to the database. So the database name is AdventureWorks. Okay. So then data set. Okay, so you can create a data set. Data set is all about a query. Okay, so let me add a data set here. Let's say I'll be giving a order details, name as order detail, order. So as I said, it is not technically mandatory, but you should give a meaningful name. So let's say order detail, because as you see in the query, I'm getting the data um, for different orders. So just let me add one more thing just to filter out. Let me only take one category so that it will be getting less record instead of showing everything. So let's say, let me put it as category as clothing. Okay. So here we want to report about the clothings, different clothings product, and we have different subcategory of that, and we have different products. So bottom line is we need to show different orders. Okay, and for that orders, whatever products were sold and what is the quantity and total amount. So let me take this query. So today I'll show you only how to use an inline query. So when I say inline query, so when you are creating a data set, you can either give a query here or you can call a store procedure. Okay, so let me go to the easier one. As part of the introduction class. Okay, so here before I go to the query, I need to refer to the data source which we created, and here the name will come as part of the embedded reference which you created. So let me choose ADWorks, which is the reference to the AdventureWorks data source, and let me copy paste the query. Okay, so you can, if you have a query, you are good in query, you have written it in SSMS, that is the easy tool you have to create your query. Also here we have option to design the query, so I'll show you that later sometime, but let's go with the text query. So I have the query, then you can refresh it. So there is a issue here, unable to connect. So yeah, so here in 2017 it gets this error. So after creating your data source, again you need to provide that you are going with the Windows credential. Otherwise, it is by default showing the do not use credentials, though I have selected Windows credential. So let me choose again, click OK, and I'll just double click on the data set which created. But if you remember, I added a data source and it created it, but it is not showing any columns, which is expected. Okay, so let's see how it will come. Okay, so I have created this data source. Let me refresh it, and here if you refresh, then it will validate the query and it will get the fields as part of the output. So as you see in SQL Server, so I'm showing SQL Server because this is the easier way to understand. So you are running the query, getting the output, and those output columns needs to be present in the data set. So these are the like output columns which will be holding the data in the real time. So these are the fields available. So let me click OK. So after creating it, you see that these are the columns available. So once you created the data set successfully, it will be creating the data set with different columns available as part of your query. So now we are done with the data source. Now we are done with the data set, and data set is all about a query which will be giving you the output of the data. So now next thing is we need to build a object which will be using which you will be representing your data. So let's say I'll be creating a simple table. So for that I can right click and insert a table, or I can go to the toolbox and just click on the table, drag and drop. So by default, when you create a table, so it will be adding two rows, one with the header, one with the data. So header is what, so what will be the header name you will be having in the data, or then another thing is data. So data here you will be showing the fields, whatever fields available in your data set. So let me so there are different ways of doing it. So let's say you can uh, click on the table, go to the properties, and for this you need to assign a data set which you created. So let me select the data set order details, and here I can choose the data or column which I need to represent here, let's say, or you can drag and drop from here. So I'm just dragging and dropping date, order, product category. Then you can add some more columns to the right. Let's say I want to show subcategory. Then you can also create new column by dragging the column name. So like as you see, there is a blue icon coming over here. So just you need to place it in a proper way so that it will be creating a column. So automatically it created a column for product. Let me create a column for quantity and total amount. Okay, so once you drag and drop, it will be giving you the column header name as the column name in your data set. So you can change it. Let's say I'll be having the header as order date. Then let's say I want to put it as order number. Then product category is good. I don't need to change here. Let me hide it a little bit, the properties, so that you can see it in full screen. So then order subcategory. Let me expand the, so you can just expand the size like this and automatically your size of the report body will be increasing. So let's make it as quantity. Let's give a meaningful name for the header. Quantity, total amount, let it be. So after this you can do some formatting. So for that you can like Excel, you can select both using Control Shift, and here you can choose the formatting. So let's say I'll be choosing outside border, so all outside border. Okay, and by default it will be getting black. So as you see here, it got the report with the border. Okay, so now one more thing I'll be doing formatting. So I'll choose the row and I'll make it bold. Okay, so the header will be on bold. Okay, and one more thing, I'll go to the properties and let's say I want to change the background of this. So I can choose any background. Let me choose a gray color. Okay, so this is how you can do the formatting. So now let's say I'm done with a basic report which will be presenting the data in the tabular format. So let me just adjust the location. So and at the same time you can add header or footer. Let's say you want to put the header, so you can go to the report and header. So you can place a image or you can have a title. So for this let me insert a text box here. So let's say my first SSRS report, or you want to put it as, let's say, sales order report. Sorry. Okay, so you can select this, make it bold. You can change the size of it. Let's say I'll be increasing the size a little bit. The size of the text box. Yeah, so now my report is done. I have a header to it. You can add footer as per the requirement. Well, let's go with the basic one today. So let me preview it. Okay, so when you preview, it will show how the data will look. Okay, so as you see here, so here my like after I created the report, I can see the data in this way. So let's say you want to send it to the user, they can see the report in a presentable way. We can do more and more formatting, which we'll be discussing in the later session. So as you see, like if I talk about a formatting quickly, let's say your user needs the date in a certain format, or your user needs not want to know or want to see the data. Let's say you want to show in dollar, the total amount should be showing in dollar. So you can make the like formatting for that. Let's say I'll be showing you two simple things today. So let's format the date. So for that you need to right click on the cell, go to the text box properties, and here under the number you can go to date, and here you can choose any format. So let's say I want to choose this one. Okay, so it will be showing like date, month, and year. Okay, so let me make it a little bit customized. So I'll be putting YYYY instead of YY. So it will be showing date, month, and year, full year. Okay. So I have done the formatting, and let's say I'll be formatting similar way to the total amount. So here text box properties, and let me go to the number, and let's me choose a currency. So here you can choose any currency. So by default it is getting me the States currency dollar. So let me keep it as dollar, and also you can choose whether you want to have a how many decimal places. If you don't want to have a decimal place, it will be just rounding up and it will be showing. But if you see here, there is a sample over here, so it is showing dollar 12345.00. So this will be the data it will be showing over. So let me click OK, and let's see the preview how it looks. Okay, so now I have the data with a proper date format. Then you see the proper like format for the total amount or sales amount in the dollar value, because these are the dollar value. And if you see here, it is showing different orders, and for that order, what all products bought, what quantity it bought, and what is the total amount. So this is all about a simple SSRS report, and we'll be going through more and more hands-on, and we'll be going through different learning session on different type of reports. So we'll be knowing how to create different type of reports, whether it will be a tabular, matrix, or graph, or any other, like you want to add any other charts. So based on the requirement you can implement that. So we'll be going through more and more options, more and more advanced features of SSRS. So that's all for today. Yeah, so thank you.